Welcome to Wayne County Connection. I'm your host, Michael Sweigart. Here on Wayne County Connection, we connect you, our viewers, with our guests and the agencies they represent to promote Wayne County as a great place to work, live, and play. And it's that connection that makes it all worthwhile and makes it happen. Because without you and without our guests, we couldn't make Wayne County a great place to work, live, and play. But we appreciate the opportunity that you have inviting us into your homes as we do our part to highlight and promote these different individuals and agencies so that you can do your part to get involved. If you're missing something from a previous episode or you'd like to find out more about how you can get involved, I'd encourage you to visit our website, waynenet.org/cc. There you can find information about our past programs, including links to the contacts that you need to make. And also you can browse on over to the WayneNet calendar to find out what's going on in our community. Today we're going to be talking about making Wayne County a great place to live. But before we do that, I do want to highlight a recent kudo, a feather in our cap, the opening of Blue Buffalo, and I'd like to congratulate all those that were involved in bringing Blue Buffalo to our county and also to the new employees that are having new jobs and so forth, and that great economic development, making Wayne County a great place to work. All three of those things work together to make us a great community, and we'd like to encourage you to share that with people outside of our community. As you know, this program airs in Wayne County as a grant and the local community access cable television access, but we are available streaming and on demand. And you can find out more information about how to get the streaming and on demand and share those with people who don't live in the community. And you can do that at our website, waynenet.org/cc. All right, a couple of stumbles there in the opening, but now we're going to get into our program. And I'd like to have you help me welcome to our show, Eric Nicholson. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Michael.
Eric is the Executive Director of the Richmond Neighborhood Restoration Organization.
Yep, that's correct.
And we're going to find out a lot more about that as we go through our program. But first, you're kind of a young face and a new face in our community, so we want to really focus on that connection and introducing you to our viewers. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up here in Wayne County.
Sure. So I went to Earlham College, which a lot of my family went there, so it kind of was a natural choice for me. But when I was there, I spent a lot of time on campus. My senior year, I actually led this program that was aimed at it was a freshman orientation program to Richmond. And so we actually took freshmen that were like coming into the school and took them all around Richmond and in some parts of Wayne County just to really show them what there was to offer in the community. And it was a really great experience. But one thing that I realized was that was the first time that I had really explored Richmond. And so my senior year, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do when I graduated. But I kept thinking about this program and that there was a lot of opportunity in Richmond that I hadn't realized there was before. So after I graduated, a couple of friends and I decided that, hey, we may as well just stay here and see what happens and get involved with some community initiatives. And here I am. So, yeah.
So through a collegiate activity, it kind of opened your eyes to this community that you've been living in for 4 years.
Yeah, and I think that, one of the things that I felt is that I've been here for 4 years, but I hadn't been doing anything for the community. So I got an education that I value a lot, but I hadn't done anything for the community, and I just kind of lived here. And so I really felt like I wanted to do something, with Richmond, with the community.
That's interesting. That's one of the comments that I hear when people give me feedback about the program. They're like, I didn't know we had that in Wayne County.
Right.
And so we've talked earlier and many times on the show about the grass is greener and people moving into the community and seeing things with fresh eyes. And so that's really one thing that I like to promote is that it's really easy being in the community to overlook these gems and jewels that make Wayne County a great place to work, live, and play.
Yeah, exactly. And I that was something that I didn't realize until I really stepped out of Earlham and looked at the community. And I mean, we have so many great assets here, and it's really fun to live and work and play here. So, I've really enjoyed my time here and hope to be here for a little while. So, yeah.
So what's going to keep you here for at least the time being is Richmond Neighborhood Restoration Project, which is an ongoing enterprise. Yep. It started before you got involved, but you've been involved in, and I've had the privilege of working next to Eric. We share offices in the same facility downtown, and so it's really interesting to hear about some of those great projects, and I would like you to share that with our viewers. So first of all, tell us, what is Richmond Neighborhood Restoration? It sounds kind of big and ostentatious.
It is big. So we're a nonprofit, and we mainly focus at restoring historic homes in the Richmond area, but we're open to more projects than that, I guess. We're growing right now. But yeah, our main focus is taking houses that are blighted, abandoned, otherwise, fallen in disrepair, and really returning them to the glory that they had, when Richmond was in some sort of, thriving, booming state, because these beautiful houses were built then. So we're really all about, kind of preserving that. And in the preserving of these houses, we think we can really help develop a community identity and really develop neighborhoods and get our neighborhoods to a place where people feel safe and excited to be in them, but also really proud of them. I think that Richmond has this amazing wealth of historic buildings that not a lot of other towns have, and we should be proud of that. And my goal is that when I'm traveling somewhere and I say, "Oh yeah, I'm from Richmond," someone says, "Oh, that's the town with the historic houses," right? And I think that that's something that we have the potential to be. We could be a great tourist destination for something like that, or but I think having that community pride in where we live is really important. So.
Well, a lot of interesting questions are raised by the few comments that you just made. The first one is, how is focusing on one home beneficial to an entire neighborhood? Because the name of your project is Neighborhood Restoration.
Right, and we're working through that. So one thing that we like to say is that we're restoring neighborhoods one home at a time.
Okay.
Because it's a lot of work to work on these houses. But we really see great impacts in the neighborhood. So we did the Elwood McGuire house, which was on Main Street, and with the completion of that project, the 20 closest houses we saw their property value increase by about 12%, which represents about $10,000 per house, or $200,000 across that small community. And so we're really seeing when we invest in the neighborhood, we also see the neighborhood property values increase. And also, our goal is creating owner-occupied housing. So we're taking houses that a lot of them have been cut up into apartment units, and then kind of fallen apart and whatnot. But we find when someone moves into a house, they really care about their community, and they're going to do things in the community that are going to make the community a better space. If you're renting a space, it's harder to be attached to your community. And so I think it's really important that we're creating space for people to be buying houses and be moving in and caring about their community.
Again, a lot is packed into those small comments that you're making there, and we're not going to have time to unpack all of that during our program, but I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity. And before we get any further, I want to just say, how do people find out more about Richmond?
Sure,
how do they get connected with you?
So we have a website, which is richmondneighborhoodrestoration.org. We also have a Facebook page, and that's kind of the bulk of our social media online presence. We try and do fairly regular updates on our Facebook page and on our website about what we're doing and how to get involved. So those are great ways to kind of glimpse into the projects. This last project that we did on South 17th Street, we tried to publicize what was happening on a day-to-day basis in terms of the renovation process, and we got really good response from that. So I think for future projects, we'll be taking photos on a regular basis and sharing them, so you really get a sense of what goes into a restoration project and kind of see the whole thing from start to finish.
So there is a lot that's involved in restoring these historic homes, and one of the things that you mentioned is you're trying to move them from either deteriorated, you use the word blight, which is another topic that we could get into a little bit here, and it's been in the news in Richmond in particular, but talking about also multi-unit dwellings and converting them into single-unit dwellings. And one of your homes in particular was basically a capture or a recapture of that historic property from a multi-unit dwelling back to a single-family residence.
Right. Yeah, and that's something that we think, it's hard to sell these properties as something that's been all cut up. And we think it's really important to show the historic nature of these buildings and return them to the glory that they had. And so we try our best to restore everything that's happened to them, and that's just the state of the houses. So yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, we actually share a wall in the same.
We do, yeah.
In the Innovation Center downtown. And so I have been able to listen to you tell stories about the renovations, especially the last project. And tell us about that last project a little bit, because it had its ups and downs, and there was a lot involved in in that whole project?
Yeah, so that was actually the first project that I worked on. So I've been with this organization for almost a year now. And right when I had started, we had obtained this project on South 17th Street, and so I really got to see that one from kind of start to finish. And it was a great learning experience. That was something I hadn't done before, but it was very exciting to work with the community and get people in there and working on the project. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
And so out of that experience, the two things that I want to know, and I'm sure our viewers want to know as well, is who are the community members that were involved before and what was going on beforehand in Richmond Restoration? And then what did you learn about either that particular historic home or other historic home in Richmond's in general that makes this really exciting and fits into the concept of our program, making Wayne County a great place to work, live, and play? So let's start with community members first.
Sure.
And the connection first.
Yeah, so we have a board of directors, and they're very involved in what we do. And prior to my position as a full-time staff being created, they were very active in the renovation process, and they did a lot of the work and they did a lot of the coordinating of that. And since my position was created, I do all of that. So I take care of a lot of the running around and making things happen. And then we have a really great group of volunteers that comes out and helps us with our bigger projects and the things that we need a lot of hands for. They really make happen. So that's been really great. The thing I think is most exciting about these houses is telling the story of them and telling the history about them. Richmond has just an incredible history. And so many interesting people have kind of come and gone through the town, and especially with these older houses that, were built at kind of the turn of the century, while Richmond was just this, like it was Chicago of the, of its time, and so being able to tell the story, I think, is really fascinating. So this last house, one of the historical people that we wanted to highlight was Margaret Keelhorn, who was a hat maker in Richmond, and she was, I think, one of the most prominent business women of that era, which is fascinating for in that time period a woman owning a business, but also being very, very successful. And she owned the house that we worked on, and she had a husband, but like his name didn't even appear on the deed or anything like that. So it was it was her show, and I think that's so cool to see that Richmond was like kind of progressive in that way, and. Yeah, so one thing that we want to do is really kind of bring that history to life, and we're working with the Historical Museum and the library to kind of get those resources and find those stories and be able to tell them.
I noticed when I visited your website that was a big part of the description. All of the projects that have been done by the R&R were listed. And when you go to the various home sites, you find out not only what the restoration project was, but the history of the story. And one was the Dillian McGuire, I think. Story. And that was really interesting as well. So you're promoting not only what you're doing, but you're promoting the history of the county.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the most exciting things about historic preservation is we get the chance to tell these stories that may have been forgotten a little bit. And I think that I think in terms of pride for our neighborhood, I think that's so exciting to know that, oh yeah, in this house, Elwood McGuire lived there and he invented the lawnmower. Like he invented this lawnmower and he was like a very absurd inventor. And Richmond is a home to a lot of weird inventors and it's just a really like exciting and fun thing. I think being able to bring that and make it relevant in today, like on our day-to-day, is really exciting to be able to do.
So one of the things that we touched on earlier, and this seems kind of an abrupt change, but it's going back to what we mentioned earlier, was you mentioned saving these homes from blight. And one of the things that's been in the news recently in the area is the number of houses that have fallen into disrepair, so much so that it seems easier and less expensive to tear them down and to start from fresh than to try and do a restoration. So how does the R&R, how do you look at a home or look at a neighborhood and say, yeah, this property is worth saving? Is it just historic value?
I think that there's a lot more than that. It's a very complicated topic, but we definitely have a mentality in Richmond that once a house has been abandoned for even a couple years, it's probably time to tear it down. And I think that that's a mentality that we're really trying to combat because these houses were built very well. We like to say they have good bones, right? Okay. You've probably heard that. And they were built really well 100 years ago. They're not going anywhere. they're fairly indifferent to whether they're being occupied or not. But we do have this mentality where, this house needs a new set of paint and a couple new windows. Oh, we should probably just tear it down. And tearing a house down is very attractive because it's very cheap to do. It's compared to renovating. So when we do a renovation, we spend about $130,000 on a project. I don't know what the cost is for tearing a house down, but it's much less than that.
Right.
But to tear a house down and then to build a new house, that's what we don't think about that, right? So the cost to take a house down and then completely rebuild another house is way more expensive. And so it's really that kind of initial, are we taking it down or are we restoring it? And then taking it down is much cheaper. But if we're thinking about the long term, what's the impact on the community? Maybe if we fix it up, that's going to be a better investment in the community. So.
And before the program, you were sharing with me, and you have a cheat sheet in front of you
Yes,
that
I
you
do,
took over the details. But I'd like you to share with our viewers some of the details about the economic impact that Richmond Neighborhood Restoration is having on the community.
Yeah, so I did talk about the neighborhood property value increasing, but we also, so when we do a project, the average increase in property value is 190%, which is tripling the value of a home. So when we start with these houses, and to be fair, we're starting with houses that are in very rough shape and not valued very high, but we do dramatically increase the value of that individual home. But we also see that the houses around that do experience that impact. Another thing that we're doing is that we are bringing people to Richmond. So we've done 3 projects. We brought 10 people to Richmond. I can't think of a better way to make Richmond a better place to live, work, and play than bringing people here. And I also don't know of that many other projects that are bringing people to Richmond. So we're really excited to be able to have the people coming in and helping grow our population.
And when you say bringing people to Richmond, you mean people that did not live in Richmond. It's not like they're moving from one neighborhood to another neighborhood.
Correct.
It's people that do not have a home in Wayne County, and they're moving into our community.
To date, 10 people have moved to Richmond because of our projects.
Right.
So I think that's a really exciting thing, and we hope to continue to grow that number. So.
Okay. And I think one of the things that you mentioned is, when we're talking about tearing down the house, a lot of times when a demolition happens, that lot becomes an empty lot.
Right.
And an empty lot is not a great tax revenue space for the community.
Right, that's correct. And so when we actually redo these properties and the property value increases, and I'm sure you're aware that your taxes are based on your property value, well, I think the city should be pretty happy about this because over a 10-year period per property, we're creating about $13,000 in tax revenue that was not there before. And actually, in some of the cases, these properties haven't had taxes paid on them in a while. So, we're getting someone in there that's living there and paying taxes into the city. And so we've done 3 projects. So over the next 10 years, that's about $40,000 that's going into the city tax base, which can be then used to do infrastructure improvements and support our schools and things like that. So I think that's kind of it's a long-term effect. I mean, we're playing a long game here, but we hope to continue doing that and really helping increase Richmond's tax base. I think is really important.
So one of the things that the show focuses on is Wayne County as a whole, and this project is really Richmond-centric, and that's not a bad thing because what benefits Richmond also benefits the county.
Right.
But let's say there's somebody watching the program and they're in one of our other communities, Hagerstown, Cambridge City, whatever, Centerville maybe even, get over the animosity there. But anyway, and they think, hey, there's this home in our area. Are you guys a resource to maybe provide some information, some support, or maybe even a project?
Yeah, so we're working on growing kind of our program and our reach. And every community in Wayne County has these historic homes. This area was really well populated during the turn of the century time period, and just because of that, we have just amazing houses everywhere. And so we would love to do some work in the other communities. We're definitely not quite ready for that yet, but we also are working on developing some resources for homeowners so that they can work with their own historic homes. And I think we're going to be starting some workshops that talk about that, and some basic DIY home improvement skill things, so that if you're living in a historic home, you can learn to kind of deal with some of the problems that are characteristic of that. And so I think that'll be helpful. We're working on figuring out the best way that we can, assist people in the community with, with the problems that they're having with their houses. We're not sure about like how we can refer contractors and stuff like that, but I think just building awareness about, this is how we do things. And I think our Facebook page is very educational in that sense that we show, oh, this is what we're doing to our house, and then maybe this is how you can do it in your own home. So.
And then one of the things that you're showing on your Facebook page ties directly into that. Maybe you're not ready to dig in with hammers and chisels or whatever on your own home, but you want some experience. And you have some volunteer opportunities where people could come in
Yes.
and work on these homes and not only benefit Richmond Neighborhood Restoration in the current project, but also maybe get some experience to take back to their own property.
Yes, exactly. And actually, one of our goals for this house that we're just starting, which is on 2009 East Main Street, is that we're going to teach people how to paint in the house. So we'll bring people in, and we'll probably have some professional painters in there, and we'll teach you how to paint, and we'll let you run around and paint everything. But those are skills that you can take back to your own house and use to paint your house or help paint your neighbor's house or help paint your kid's house when they move out or whatever. So, I think we have a power to teach skills that are really important for home improvement and for community, how your community looks. And those are skills that help us because our volunteers are then, doing this really nice skilled labor, but they get to take those skills home with them.
Right.
And I can't think of a better thing to take home from a volunteer day than, a new skill about home improvement.
So there's a lot of connecting going on there.
Yeah.
First of all, we've got people that can volunteer to get connected with you to help restore a property, can help diminish the out-of-pocket expenses that
Yes.
Richmond Neighborhood Restoration would have in restoring the property, which allows you to extend your resources. It's a way for you to get connected and involved to make Wayne County a great place to work, live, and play. And then, like you said, take home some of those skills that you may not have and some experience and knowledge about what's going on in this type of a project. And even if you don't want to do it yourself on your own property, at least you know a little bit more about what is making this community so great.
Yeah, and it's the volunteers are just the most important part of our organization. Like we would not exist without volunteers. I think our last project had about 300 volunteer hours put into it, and we're hoping to up those numbers. But that's a lot of time that was donated from the community, and we really would not be able to do projects like these without our volunteer support. So it's very important to us to have those volunteers.
In addition to individuals and volunteering, there are also some businesses in the community that are contributing as well. And one of the questions that one of our viewers may be asking is one that I'm going to ask right now is, so how many tax dollars are being pumped into your organization on a regular basis to get this small tax revenue long term?
I think the answer would be zero. So we're privately funded. We're basically funded through donations, but also through our projects. So when we complete a project, the sale of the property goes back into our project. So we are self-sustaining. We don't make a ton of money off of these projects, which is why we are a nonprofit. But it is enough to start the next one. And then past that, we do just solicit individuals in the community for support, and we've had really great support thus far in the community, and so.
And some local businesses have contributed as well.
Yes, local businesses and a lot of like local suppliers for like construction stuff have been able to donate some of their materials, which helps bring our costs down. But we don't have any city support right now. So, I mean, like they're supportive of us, but not financially. So, your tax dollars are safe with you. So, yeah.
So, well, we've covered a lot in our program, and we're coming to the end of our program right now. I would like to give you another opportunity to make an appeal to our viewers for their volunteer or other contributions that they might make to the
we're
organization.
always open. We're always open to more volunteers or more donors. But yeah, really check out our Facebook page or our website to just kind of see what's happening and get involved. And I think that even just participating in the seeing what's happening and getting excited about that is really the best part about community support. And we try and work with our neighbors and be friendly with them and work with them because we're helping in their community. So however way you want to get in contact with us, go for it. And yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Eric Nicholson is the Executive Director of the Richmond Neighborhood Restoration Organization. It's Richmond Neighborhood Restoration Inc. And we thank you for coming today to talk about the programs that are going on and the projects that are happening here in Richmond and then impacting all of Wayne County as a whole. Eric, thanks a lot for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And best wishes for continued success.
Thank you.
It's going to be great.
Thank you.
All right. And we want to thank you for watching. Again, I want to encourage you to visit our website at waynet.org/cc, where you can find out more information about today's program and also have links to the Facebook page and the website and ways that you can get connected and get involved as well. And again, visit the calendar page at waynet.org to find out all of the great events that are happening here in Wayne County that you can get involved in to make Wayne County a great place to work, live, and play. It's a great summer here in Wayne County with a lot of things going on in our communities and in the county, and we want to just highlight all the beneficial and great things that summertime brings for outdoor activities and for getting connected in a social way, and then also want to congratulate Blue Buffalo for coming to town and all the people that were involved in that project. I'm Michael Sweigart, your host. We want to thank you for watching. I want to thank Jane Holman, our producer, and Anthony and Ryan, our directors in Wayne County Whitewater Community Television. Man, I don't know how I messed that one up. That was the first time. Whitewater Community Television. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next month.